Have you ever had that gut feeling, that little voice in the back of your head telling you something is terribly wrong? I'm Mark, and for a while, I'd been ignoring that voice. My wife, Sarah, and I had been married for 12 years. We had a beautiful house, 2 great kids, a life we'd built together from the ground up. Or so I thought. Looking back, the signs were all there, like little red flags I chose to see as just quirks. The late nights at the office became more frequent. Her phone, which used to be left lying around, was suddenly glued to her hand, screen down, always. When I'd ask who she was texting, she'd laugh it off. "Just work stuff, honey. You know how demanding this new project is." And I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Love makes you blind, but it also makes you a willing participant in your own deception. There were other things too. A sudden interest in hitting the gym, new clothes she'd buy and hide in the back of the closet. When I found a new dress, she'd say, "Oh, that old thing? I've had it for ages." She started talking about a new coworker, Alex. It was always, "Alex said this," or "Alex and I had the funniest lunch meeting." It was never just a team, it was always Alex. The name started to feel like a splinter in my mind, a constant, irritating presence. I tried talking to her. One evening I sat her down and said, "Sarah, are we okay? You seem distant." She put on her best performance. Tears welled up in her eyes as she told me how stressed she was, how the pressure at work was immense, and how she was sorry if she'd been neglectful. She hugged me tight, called me her rock, and for a moment the doubt subsided. I felt guilty for even questioning her. I was the bad guy, the untrusting husband. She was a master at turning the tables. But that gut feeling? It doesn't just go away. It festers. It grows louder until you can't ignore it anymore. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It was our anniversary and I had planned a surprise. I came home early, flowers in hand, ready to cook her favorite meal. The house was quiet. The kids were with my parents for the night. I walked into our bedroom, and there it was. Her work laptop, open on the bed. Usually she guarded that thing like it was the key to a fortress. But she must have left in a hurry. A notification popped up on the screen. It wasn't from her work email. It was from a messaging app I didn't recognize, one of those encrypted chat programs. The message preview was just a name, Alex, and a single sentence that made my blood run cold. "Can't he wait to have you all to myself again tonight?" My heart hammered against my ribs. My hands started to shake. This was it. The moment of truth. Every instinct screamed at me to close the laptop and walk away, to pretend I hadn't seen it, to live in blissful ignorance for just a little longer. But I couldn't. I needed to know. I clicked on the notification, and the world as I knew it shattered. It wasn't just a chat. It was a novel. Months, maybe even years of conversations. It was all there, in black and white. Their secret lunches weren't about work. The late nights weren't for projects. They were for him. They had a whole secret life. They talked about everything. They shared inside jokes, pet names. They even had a name for me, the Warden. They laughed about how I was so clueless, how easy I was to fool. "He'd believe anything I say," one of her messages read, followed by a laughing emoji. Each word was a physical blow. I scrolled and scrolled, feeling sicker with every line. They had planned trips. Future getaways, they called them. They talked about a future together, a life without me and the kids. She had sent him pictures, intimate photos I had never seen, photos she took in our home, in our bed. The betrayal was so profound, so absolute, it felt like I was drowning. The woman I had loved, the mother of my children, was a complete stranger. The worst part wasn't just the cheating, it was the lies, the intricate web of deception she had woven around our entire life. Every "I love you," every shared smile, every family vacation. Was it all a lie? I felt like a fool, an actor in a play where I was the only one who didn't know the script. The foundation of our 12-year marriage wasn't built on love and trust. It was built on her lies, and my naive willingness to believe them. I sat there for what felt like hours, just staring at the screen, the flowers I'd bought wilting on the nightstand. The love I felt for her was evaporating, replaced by a cold, hard knot of anger and grief. I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing my past, my present, and the future I thought we had. Then I heard the front door open. "Mark, you home early?" Her voice, once the sweetest sound to me, was now grating. She walked into the bedroom, a bright smile on her face. The smile faltered when she saw my expression. Then her eyes darted to the laptop. The color drained from her face. She knew. There was no shouting, no screaming. I was too empty for that. I just looked at her and said, "The warden knows." Her face crumbled. The act was over. The lies had run out. For the first time I saw the real Sarah. Not the loving wife, not the stressed executive, but a woman who had systematically destroyed the life we built for a cheap thrill. The conversation that followed was the hardest of my life. The excuses came first, then the blame shifting. It was my fault. I wasn't paying her enough attention. The pressure of being a mother was too much. But I wasn't listening to the words anymore. I was looking at the chat history, at the evidence of her double life. I told her it was over. There was no coming back from this. The trust was not just broken. It was annihilated. The home we shared was no longer a home. It was a crime scene. The days that followed were a blur of lawyers and painful conversations with our kids. Explaining to them that mommy and daddy wouldn't be living together anymore was the single most difficult thing I have ever had to do. How do you explain a betrayal like that to a child? You can't. You just try to shield them from the fallout as best you can. People say time heals all wounds, but something like this leaves a permanent scar. It changes you. For a long time I was filled with bitterness. But slowly, I started to heal. I focused on my kids, on rebuilding a life for us that was based on honesty. I learned to trust my gut. That little voice that warns you, it's usually right. Looking back, finding that hidden chat was devastating, but it was also a liberation. It ended a marriage built on lies and allowed me to start building a future built on truth. It's a painful journey, but it's my journey. And for the first time in a long time, I'm in control of the narrative. The warden is finally free. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been through something similar,